Shabbat Shalom. The images that you may have seen this week of a country burning down were really sad. There were a lot of fires in Israel during Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Remembrance. In fact, the tekes of Adlakat HaMazvot, when every year the torches are lit in order to commemorate the end of Yom HaZikaron, Remembrance Day, and the beginning of Yom HaAtzmaut, Independence Day, was cancelled. The TV had to stream the previous, the rehearsal that every year is recorded. Not only that, the TV station in Jerusalem had to be evacuated and moved to Herzliya. Celebrations all around the country were canceled, and you could see how, unfortunately, the country was burning. And the same day, I was invited to sing El Maleh Rachamim at the Jewish Day School, and I heard the Atikva twice. I arrived early, and the lower grades were doing their own ceremony of Memorial Day, Yom HaZikaron, and then I participated in the upper grades of the lower school, the elementary school. So I heard the Atikva twice, and I thought that was a good message. We need to double down in hope, because we have no option other than hope. So I'm going to share a secret with you. When rabbis arrive to the parashot of Tazria and Metzora, usually they open the book of Hasidic tales, Hasidic stories, and tell a story from that book. Or most commonly, rabbis speak on Lashon Hara, evil speech. Why? Because they claim there's not much to say in this parashot that deals with skin disease. And by saying that, they are doing Lashon Hara on the parasha. But you already know I'm a little bit crazy, so it will not surprise you that to hear that I like to speak about this parashot. I must be probably the only rabbi who likes skin diseases. It reminds me of a question a dermatologist asked me last time I saw him: why don't skin cells ever get lonely? Because they always stick together. That was a bad joke, okay, I meant my best. But the disease I would like to point out, you want me to repeat it? Okay, why don't skin cells ever get lonely? Because they always stick together. Okay, good. Now you got it, okay. It got in under your skin, it took some time, okay. The disease I want to point out from this parsha is the Tzarat Abayit. Maybe some humidity stains on the walls of the house that didn't look very nice. Usually, these humidity stains don't look nice, and they are concerning. And the Torah says that person shall break down the house, its stones and its wood, and all the mortar of the house, and the person shall carry them forth out of the city to an unclean place. That is in Leviticus 14:45. One of my favorite Talmudic passages speaks of three of the most difficult laws in the Torah. It's in the Tractate of Sanhedrin, 71a. The passage then interprets the three laws out of existence. The first law is the stubborn and rebellious son who refuses to obey his father and his mother. Ben Sorer Umoreh. That's later in the book of Deuteronomy. Such son is taken out to the elders of the city, who hold a special hearing and then proceed to stone the rebellious son to death. The Talmud teaches that before the son can be stoned to death, his parent must speak in precisely the same voice, same tone of voice. They must appear alike in voice, appearance, and stature, both parents. Obviously, including other conditions, this makes the law impossible. So the Talmud concludes, Ben Sorer Umoreh lo haya velo nibra. There was never a stubborn and rebellious son, and there never will be one. So why, the Talmud asks, was the law written? That you might study and receive a reward. That is the why we learn it? Because we study and then we receive a reward by studying it. So what can we learn from this strange law? No child, no matter how rebellious, difficult, disobedient, is ever lost. There's no child beyond redemption. I have met parents who had teens who were out of control. I've talked to these parents, and these parents, some years later, I spoke with them and then discovered that their children have turned around. We can learn from this Talmudic passage that no child is beyond hope. The second law speaks of a city filled with idolaters. Such city is condemned to utter destruction. The inhabitants were slain, and all the property will be burned. That's also in Deuteronomy. The Talmud teaches that even if a single mezuzah is found in the community, these laws do not apply. A mezuzah that contains the name of God and is put on the door of every Jewish home can never be destroyed. Obviously, any Jewish city will have at least one such mezuzah. So the Talmud concludes, there was never a condemned city, and there never will be. What can we learn from this strange law? There is no city beyond redemption. Abraham was willing to save Sodom and Gomorrah for the sake of 10 righteous people. Here the city is saved just for the sake of one mezuzah. That one mezuzah could be the religious symbol that leads to the entire city away from idolatry and back to God. We can learn from this Talmudic passage that no community is beyond hope. The third law, part of this week's portion, speaks of a disease. As I said, usually identified as leprosy, and this disease breaks out in the walls of a house, as I mentioned. The priest looks at the house, let it sit for 7 days, checks it out again. If the disease is still on the walls, this humidity has not gone away, the house is utterly destroyed and the stones taken to an unclean place. Talmud comments that sometimes the Torah says wall in singular and sometimes walls in the plural. Therefore, this law only applies where a wall is like walls. It must be perfectly symmetrical across the angle. The Talmud concludes that there was never a house that was affected with Sarat, a leprous house, and there never will be. Then, why was this law written? So we can study it and receive a reward. From this strange law, we learn that there is no home beyond redemption. No matter how much anger, dissent, disagreement shatter a home, there's always hope that the relationship can be rebuilt. Whether a child, a family, or an entire community, nothing is beyond redemption. And I started my Dvar Torah describing scenes of fire, of a country burning down. No person, no house, no city, or no community is beyond redemption. No matter how inflammatory the fire is, the dialogue or lack of dialogue, the abyss that separate people, I keep hopeful. The prophet Ezekiel lived to 2,600 years ago, and in the vision of the dry bones, the prophet hears the bones say, "Our bones are dried, and our hope is lost." Vayomer Elai ben Adam, Atzamot ha'ele kol Beit Israel hema. These bones are all the people of Israel. Hine omrim, they say, Yavshu atzmoteinu be'avdat tikvateinu. Our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. But in 1978, Naphtali Hertz Imber wrote, Od lo avdat tikvateinu. Our hope is not lost, because no person, no house, no community is beyond redemption. Real hope does not mean to think quietly that everything will be fine. Real hope is the hope that insists that we are the agents of change to make things better. From fires and ashes, we will rebuild and research. I have hope. and I hope you too. Shabbat Shalom umeborach.